People who are struggling don't always ask for help, even when they know they need it. Even those who are having thoughts of suicide often do not openly share their distress. Sometimes, the nature of suicidal thoughts interferes with help seeking. Individuals often feel hopeless, helpless, or believe they may be a burden on others. They may not recognize the degree of their own risk, or they may doubt that appropriate supports are available. Students in distress also may not know how to ask for help, or fear being treated differently if others know they are struggling. This means that we need to develop other ways to identify and assist students who may be at risk for suicide. This work relies on the involvement of the entire campus, as well as important changes to campus processes. Involving every office and every member of the campus community in the work of identifying and assisting those at risk helps us cast a wide safety net to catch students in need of support. So what can your campus do to better identify and support students in distress? We'll review 5 important strategies. 1. Build your campus capacity to respond to increased student needs. 2. Screen for mental health concerns and suicide risk. 3. Provide gatekeeper or natural helper training for faculty, staff, and students. 4. Refine your behavioral intervention team referral and tracking processes. And 5. Connect your disciplinary processes with mental health services. Before your campus takes steps to increase the identification and assistance of students at risk of suicide, make sure you have the capacity to respond to an increased number of referrals. While identifying those at risk is important, it does no good if you don't have resources or places to refer those students to, and potentially could leave students feeling unsupported and even more hopeless. Consider both formal services, such as your counseling and health center, as well as alternative forms of support on campus, such as peer support groups and curriculum-based programs. You will also need to identify off-campus resources. Create and maintain a good list of community providers of mental health services, including options for inpatient, intensive outpatient, psychiatry, and general outpatient therapy services. Ideally, you'll want to know what types of insurance these places accept and whether these resources are trained specifically to deal with people at risk of suicide. While some communities may not have all of these resources available, it is important to consider what options do exist for a range of student needs. Be sure to also identify other types of resources that can meet the needs of students in distress, such as local support groups, financial assistance, food pantries, spiritual advisors, and social service agencies. If you do not already have a referral list assembled, it may be worth it to spend a semester putting one together and making it accessible to students and staff through your website. Once posted, be sure to keep this list up to date. This can easily be integrated into an employee or student intern's annual duties. It is also important to regularly reassess your campus counseling and health center's scope of service. That is, the service options you promote and make available to students. Your scope of service reflects your assessment of your campus's capacity to respond to student needs. Ideally, it is developed with key administrators and decision makers, giving consideration to what campus resources will be dedicated to the areas of outreach, prevention, and direct services, as well as how the campus will accommodate increases in demand. It can serve as a guide for prioritizing the work if student needs start to exceed capacity. However, if campus resources remain continually overwhelmed, the institution may choose to redefine its scope of service, limiting what services are provided on campus and supporting more community referrals. Now that you have maximized your capacity to respond to student needs, one of the most efficient ways to identify students at risk is to offer screenings for suicide risk and mental health concerns. At a minimum, every student seeking counseling and any students who show signs of emotional distress in campus healthcare appointments should be screened. Nearly half of those who die by suicide see a primary care provider in the month prior to their death. screening primary care patients can significantly reduce the rates of suicide in this group. Whether you choose to screen all patients or only those who show signs of emotional distress, incorporating mental health screenings and conversations into regular medical appointments can be an effective way to identify those who might need additional support. You'll need a plan for responding to students who screen positive for suicide risk. It should include a more comprehensive evaluation of risk, collaborative development of a safety plan, and provision of additional resources. You'll also need to document the steps you have taken. Similar protocols should be established for other types of mental health concerns identified through screenings. Refer to the handout accompanying this video for more information on specific screening instruments and assessments you can use. Some schools also offer screenings for all students at campus health fairs, on specially designated screening days, and on the Wellness or Counseling Center pages of the website. Standardized screenings are available for common mental health concerns and behavioral problems such as depression, anxiety, disordered eating, and alcohol misuse. At in-person events, students complete screening questionnaires, then meet briefly with a counselor to discuss their results and supports available. Virtual screeners also typically offer feedback and a list of resources to address specific needs. Some online screening programs even provide an opportunity to communicate anonymously with a counselor about the results, allowing the student to ask questions and eventually seek help from the counseling center when they are ready. Online screening programs have shown promising evidence of effectiveness as a way to identify and support students in distress. Another popular way to increase a campus's ability to identify and respond to student needs is to offer gatekeeper training. Gatekeeper training educates the eyes and ears of the community so that lots of people have basic helping skills and can recognize and respond to someone in distress. There are both online and in-person trainings available, ranging in length from an hour to a couple of days, depending on the level of skill and intervention being taught. Ideally, a campus will offer multiple options so that participants can choose the training that best fits their interest, schedule, and preferred learning style. Our office can help you set up gatekeeper trainings that are appropriate for your campus. It is recommended that every faculty member, staff, and student receive some type of gatekeeper training to strengthen the campus safety net. Faculty, student support staff, academic advisors, residence hall staff, coaches, campus clergy, bus drivers, and cafeteria workers interact regularly with students. They are in an ideal situation to help identify those at risk and get them to whatever support or care is needed. However, if you don't have the capacity to train everyone on campus, focus on identifying the natural helpers, or the trusted confidants of students, as well as those who are most interested in this type of training. Choose gatekeepers who are likely to interact with students with diverse backgrounds, interests, perspectives, and roles, so that every student is likely to interact with at least one trained gatekeeper from time to time. It might also be helpful to train at least one faculty member from each department who could serve as a resource and advocate to their colleagues. Some campuses also provide gatekeeper training for their resident assistants, peer health educators, and other student leaders. Students can be instrumental in recognizing peers in distress and helping them access the resources they need. In fact, students report that they are more likely to talk to a peer about mental health concerns than anyone else. And most students report that they are able to recognize when a peer is struggling with their mental health or emotional problem, though they may not know how best to intervene or support them. Gatekeeper training can help close this important gap. One of the challenges with gatekeeper training, like any training, is that the information and skills learned fade away with time. So we must find ways to make the skills learned sustainable. This may involve organizing refresher trainings where skills can be reviewed and practiced. Or it may mean sending regular emails reinforcing key messages of the training to all previous participants. Because most campuses can only provide formal training for a small percentage of individuals on their campus, it is helpful to identify other ways to educate members of the campus community about how they can appropriately support students in distress. Consider doing educational and promotional activities to raise awareness of basic red flags and warning signs, and remind everyone of how to refer students in need of help. For faculty and staff, you can provide a quick resource and referral guide that they can keep in their offices and refer to as needed. For everyone on campus, including students, we recommend you provide a website or even an app for their phone with this vital information. Some schools include the number for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline on the back of campus ID cards, alongside other emergency telephone numbers for easy access and widespread awareness. We recommend using multiple avenues to communicate and educate your campus community about how to recognize and respond to someone in distress. Most campuses already have a behavioral intervention or case management team, typically made up of representatives from student affairs, health services, counseling services, residence life, campus security, and disability services. Faculty, staff, and in some cases, students can notify this team when they have a concern about a student's emotional well-being. The team then gathers information about the student and may reach out to the student directly to offer support. Campuses vary greatly in the types of referrals they accept and the extent to which they use these teams. However, you can help your campus make the best use of this team by educating the community about appropriate reasons for a referral to the team, as opposed to calling emergency services or another resource, and what happens once a referral is made. Be sure to provide a way for students to make referrals as well. Students are often aware of concerning peer behavior well before faculty and staff. Students especially may have concerns about the confidentiality of their reports and fear of upsetting friends. Therefore, it's a good idea to provide information about how the referral process works early and often. Also, make the process easy for all campus members. For example, use a well-advertised email address or online form that can be quickly accessed from the university's website. We can also facilitate the work of campus teams by using an electronic case management system. Logging referrals and behavioral incidents can help us notice patterns in individual behavior that develop across time and different domains of the student's involvement on campus. We can then better identify evolving concerns that might be overlooked if we just focused on isolated incidents. Student conduct violations are sometimes an indicator that a student is struggling with an underlying mental health issue. Close collaboration between the administrators of the conduct system and the counseling center can facilitate students getting the treatment or support they need. For example, individuals with substance use issues are at a greater risk of suicidal thoughts and behavior. It may be beneficial to require that any student who gets an alcohol or other drug violation on campus go through a health evaluation, where they also get a thorough screening for mental health concerns and suicidal thoughts. If concerns are identified, treatment or other appropriate resources can be recommended. Likewise, a mental health evaluation or counseling can be recommended on a case-by-case basis as part of a student's consequences for certain types of conduct violations. This process can help identify students in need of support who are unlikely to seek help on their own, and can expose them to important resources that may positively impact their success and well-being. Protocols need to be in place to guide these types of referrals, outlining what actions the university will take in referring a student to help, and how student conduct staff will be informed of the completion of required evaluations and counseling. Improving our ability to identify and assist those at risk for suicide is an important piece of campus suicide prevention. The majority of individuals who die by suicide were not getting help, suggesting that these people fell through the cracks. By incorporating the measures outlined in this video, we can better support individuals at risk and effectively reduce the suicide rate. However, doing so requires collaboration from many stakeholders across campus. It can also involve a commitment to regular training, adequate staffing, purchasing assessment and documentation tools, and modifying practices of student conduct, health, and case management services. Find a way to measure the positive impact these actions are having on your campus, and track your outcomes. These strategies take continued investment of time and resources from a campus, and the benefits may not be readily seen. Therefore, to ensure these efforts are sustained, we need to document how they are making a difference, to share with campus decision makers. The payoff is in the creation of healthier, safer campus communities. Refer to the handout accompanying this video for more information on screenings, gatekeeper trainings, and other considerations for improving your campus's ability to identify and support distressed students and those at risk for suicide.